I keep saying release the pressure valve. You're putting way too much pressure on, like, they gotta like me because they gotta trust me, and if they like me and trust me, they're gonna do a deal with me, and I have to get this deal because this is the best one. And it's like, this is not helping you get the deal. I think a lot of what you're feeling is because you just said it. You see it as a great opportunity and you're hanging on to this. Now you're working other leads, but like you feel like it's within reach and within grasp. And sometimes, have you ever like squeezed something so tight that somebody tries to put something else on top and it just falls because you're clenching so tightly to this one thing? When you just release, now you have an open hand to receive other stuff. I don't know if that analogy lands home with you, but you never want to chase and just, you want to attract. Welcome back, everybody, to the Storage Wins podcast. I'm excited to have this conversation with Dan. And guys, look, let me just be real and shoot you straight from the heart. Like, life is going to happen. Your plans are going to get derailed. Kids are going to get sick. There's going to be a million things that come up. In fact, one of the things I always share with people when they commit to something is expect resistance. Expect that life is going to throw you curveballs. You're going to get kicked in the gut. Things are going to pop up that's going to derail you. It's going to get you off track, and it's going to pull you away from your goals. The real question is not how do you avoid that, but how do you respond when it does happen? Do you stop completely? Do you take the learning lesson from it? Is there a pivot that needs to be made so that the wheels can keep turning and that you stay on track? So today's podcast episode, I think, is going to be a little bit different than some of the other ones. Because Dan and I were having a conversation, and I'll kind of leave it to him, but last week he got off track and maybe just didn't make as much momentum or continue to build on that momentum he had from those 4 hot leads and opportunities. And I want to use this as an opportunity, an actual real life case study as to what to do when life gets in the way, and how do you get back your rhythm without any type of negative emotions like guilt or feeling overwhelmed. So with that being said, Dan, man, I'm looking forward to this one because I think it's going to be maybe less tactical in nature, and we'll see where the conversation guides us. But based on, I guess, the intro there, tell us about last week.
Yeah, last week, like you said, I didn't get nearly as much done as I would have liked to as far as self-storage progress. My daughter was...
Yeah, go ahead.
My daughter was home from daycare all week, so my time was limited, and I got a little bit done on it, but definitely not as much as I was planning for or hoping for based off the goals that we set.
Okay. How are you feeling? Are you kind of back into the swing this today and now headed into this week, or do you still have some of those life things going on where your daughter's home? And
yeah, I'm back in it this week. I'm shaking off some rust because it was kind of like a week off of work for me. But back to the usual schedule and ready to go. Just shaking off the cobwebs, but already having good conversations with owners and getting back into it.
Good, man. I'm happy to hear that. And you kind of touched on one thing that I wanted to address. Number one, sometimes taking the unexpected time off, I think can be more of a blessing than it can be, hey, I'm feeling rusty. Now, I know this was unexpected, and so you probably feel like I got thrown off a little bit, but going back into this week and now kind of getting back into the flow and the rhythm of things and starting to build momentum, I think it's super important, your mindset around the fact that last week you didn't make progress. First of all, I don't want you to feel any type of guilt or shame over that. Because that's life. It happens. Now, I do think there's going to be some nuggets we can extract from that experience, and we'll talk about that here in a second. But the biggest thing is hit the reset button, recommit going forward, remember the non-negotiables, and let go of any type of guilt or shame. And by the way, I haven't heard those words from you, so I don't want to project that on you. But in the event that you're feeling any of that going on, brother, let that go, right? The key is, you ever committed to the quote unquote diet, right? Instead of a lifestyle, people say I want to diet, and then like all of a sudden you're eating like a cookie, and then that spirals into like eating more like, what do? Well, you can't do anything about what's already happened, but you can just recommit and say, okay, Here's the plan. Let me meal prep. Let me get back in the gym. Let me start the progress, positive momentum. So I just want to share that with you, that going forward from this point forward, just how do we build momentum? How do we build progress? How do we build that resiliency and consistency? Okay. So don't feel like you've lost momentum. Feel like you took a little bit of time off to sharpen the axe. And now, like a slingshot, you're going to be able to move forward that much faster. Any questions, insights from that?
I feel this internal clock ticking, and I feel this pressure from trying to make this deadline. But so it was hard to have that much time away from it. But it's good to be getting back into it.
Okay. Let me address that, because it's a real thing. Now,
Yeah.
I think that pressure you're feeling, number one, it's self-imposed, right? Because you said, hey, I'm going to commit to this process. And so let that fuel and motivate you. Don't let that be what causes any type of anxiety or any type of angst. Now, the fact that you've stepped up and you're like, hey, I'm going to put myself out there publicly, like, brother, trust me, you have an army of people that are supporting you right now and that want to see you win. And we're going to continue to point our cannons towards hitting that goal. And we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we can cross the finish line by that goal. But it's more about who you're becoming in the progress and in the process of of working towards buying your first facility. And it's less about, do you cross that finish line on that date? All right. So I want you've heard me talk about this inside of our Storage Wins community. Let's get clarity about the desired result we want, the goal. And then let's focus on those daily, weekly, monthly micro commitments, the micro wins that's stacked consistently. So I'm going to give you the same advice I just gave you like 5 minutes ago when it comes to feeling any type of guilt or shame. Release that pressure cooker happening inside of you right now. So if you feel stress, anxiety because of this clock, release it. If anything, let it fuel and motivate you. But if you feel it's happening the opposite effect, forget the date. Forget the date. Just be committed to the process.
Yep.
And that ties back to what we talked about previous episodes about our non-negotiables. Now, there are a few things I want to share with you. Whenever you get off track because a family member gets sick or something comes up that just throws off your day and your calendar, what's important is to like compartmentalize it, recognize it for what it is. Ask yourself, hey, is there something I can learn from this? Is there something I can do to account for the unexpected? Right? There are times where like I'm completely uninterrupted, and that's when I want to be as ultra efficient as possible, because I know that when the kids come racing in here and they want to tell me stories, it's my job to be able to disconnect and listen to them. And sometimes that's difficult, and sometimes that's challenging. So when I have those 4 or 5 hours of quiet time, like, be about your business. Be as dialed in as possible. Try to eliminate any distractions, social media, email, scrolling, whatever may be distracting you. Keep in mind, you ever been on vacation or you're about to go on vacation? Isn't it funny how you're most productive in those like last 24, 48 hours before you're going off on a big trip? Why is that? It's kind of applying the same framework to this. It's like you never know when life's going to throw you that curveball. So when things are like, when you don't have the curveballs, take advantage of the time you have. Be very intentional about the quiet hours that you do get. The other thing is that to share with you, man, is like when you get the unexpected curveball, try to do one little thing that day towards your storage goals. Man, it could be, and this is going to sound crazy, but like there's something called the 1-1-1 rule. 1 seller conversation, 1 lead follow-up, 1 deal to underwrite. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, like, Alex, I didn't even have 5 minutes to breathe last week, right? Because of X and Y and Z and all this. Dumb it down. What is one thing you can do that day to progress you towards your storage goals? And I'm not saying to do it in the midst of like when you're spending time with your daughter or your wife. Like when you're spending time with family, spend time with family. When you're doing storage, do storage, right? So I'm not an advocate of what's the word I'm looking for? When you can multitask. I am not a fan of multitasking. It's like when you're locked in, lock in and do that one thing, whether that's personal, family, business, storage, whatever the case might be. So is that helpful? Just kind of framing that, because I promise you, dude, like there's going to be more interruptions and curveballs moving forward.
Yeah, all of that is really helpful to hear.
Okay, beautiful. So let's move on, man. Let's first of all, are there any updates on those 4 leads, those 4 opportunities that you were working?
There are some, yeah. So one is a really good sized facility. It's 57,000 square feet, and I've had a number of conversations with his owner, and I made him an offer, and I got to his price, and he confirmed today that he's open to seller financing the whole
Okay,
thing.
awesome.
Um, and he just needs to talk to his kids. He had a conversation with them, and they seemed a little excited about maybe taking over the business, but he said maybe once they really learn more about the business and what it involves, and um, that he has this offer uh, for him to buy the business, they won't be as excited about taking on the business, and they'd rather just sell it for the offer that he has from me. So they have a family reunion in 2 weeks, he told me, and they're going to dive into it more during that time. And then we scheduled a follow-up call. Um, oh yeah.
I love it. Yeah. So what if you're listening on the podcast and you're not watching us, you're not watching the video, Dan and I are smiling and nodding our heads because that is the definition of BAM fam. Book a meeting from a meeting. And that was one of the things that I challenged Dan on several weeks back is don't leave these conversations with storage owners without booking the next meeting, without booking the next call. So brother, kudos to you for implementing.
Yep, yep, and he was open to. I think his schedule's wide open. I don't think he's he does this out of habit and out of running a business. It doesn't take much time for him, so um, I'm sure his days were pretty wide open, but it got something on the schedule nonetheless. And
Okay, good deal. And
we
and
fought.
did I hear you say that he's open to seller financing the entire purchase price?
Yep, exactly.
100% seller financing, aka you not having to put a dollar out of your pocket. Is that right?
Well, he would still want a down payment, but he's just
Okay, so he's
as
not gonna
far
seller
as
finance.
beyond the down payment, he would seller finance the rest.
Okay, got it. So he's looking for a small down payment and he would seller finance the rest. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, because when you told me he'd finance the entire purchase price, that means that
Oh
no matter
man,
down. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
no, not
And,
not
and
that not that good.
by the way, those deals are out there. So don't get it twisted and think that that's not possible.
Interesting.
That's those those deals are 1000% possible. I feel like you just when you said interesting and you looked up, I feel like you just had a takeaway or an insight.
He his original asking price, I met his price, and now he's increased that asking price from 3 million to 3.5 million. And I hadn't thought about doing zero down payment and just having him finance the entire purchase price. But maybe he said he's not looking for anything in particular that he wants to buy or travel to go see, or any like big ticket purchase from selling his business. So if he doesn't need it right away, maybe he'd be open to financing more of that.
Let
So
me
I
ask you a
just
question.
got me thinking.
A couple things to unpack. Number one, you just expanded your thinking in terms of what's possible. So don't incorrectly assume and box yourself into a corner thinking that all seller financing involves you having to put a certain amount of money down. Now, I'm not going to say that 100% seller financing is super common and typical. I wouldn't say it's uncommon. It's probably, I would say, more common to put a small down payment down and then have them. But if you don't ask, you don't get. And sellers financing 100% of the purchase price, provided you can give them usually what they want, which is their price. Again, I wouldn't say is uncommon. It's certainly out there. But there's a kind of a little mini bomb that you dropped that I need to hear a little bit more about. You said that he established the price of 3 million and then all of a sudden he's increasing it to 3.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not an insignificant bump. That's a $500,000 bump in price. What led to that? And did tell me that you dug into that?
I didn't dig into that with him. It's not.
Why, Dan? Why? What's
Uh,
a $500,000 increase in?
yeah.
Usually you don't ask a price and then all of a sudden the next conversation is actually it's not 3 million, it's 3.5 million. And you didn't ask a follow-up as to like what spurred that change. I mean, that's a pretty significant change in price.
Yeah, it seems obvious to ask that, and I just missed that
All right, it's all right.
opportunity.
It's all right.
So I wrote it down for next time.
Yeah. Dig in because I probably would have just naturally pulled away. And I would have been more inquisitive and asked and said, last time we talked, you were looking for 3 million. You're looking for $500,000 more, and I'd probably like stress that word in my tonality, right? That's a pretty material change in price. What led there? Clearly, there's a story behind there. It's your job to unpack and uncover that now,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So did he just matter of fact like, hey, the purchase price is 3.5, or maybe he forgot he told you 3? I don't know.
He was just casually saying, he's like, well, I really like to get closer to 3.5 million for it, and
Okay. So
didn't.
that doesn't, based on the way that you just communicated that to me, if that's in fact how he said it, doesn't seem like it's a very firm number, but it's just interesting to me how when you first had a conversation, he was asking 3 million and all of a sudden he's like, I think I'd like to get closer to 3.5. My guess is that probably has something to do with the kids and maybe some conversations he's had with them. I don't know. I don't want to assume or speculate. That's why we always ask and we dig in.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was because I got to his asking price. He's like, oh, maybe I should have asked for more, and now he's just asking for more. I don't know, but
How?
need to
Well,
dig into that.
walk me through that because there is something to be said for like if someone says, hey, I'm looking for this, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can do that. The natural instinct and reaction they're going to have is, oh, I should have asked for more. I'm asking too little, which is why there needs to be a little bit of that give and take in a negotiation, in a conversation. Even if it's just, well, hey, Dan, like, quite honestly, I don't know that I could do the 3 million. I'm not quite sure. Suppose I could, what would happen then? Right? Or if I could get there and I'm not sure I could, staying a step behind. And sometimes it's even just a slight counter, maybe not in price, but in terms. Did you, in conversations with the seller, when he asked the price, walk me through how you ultimately accepted that price? Did it happen on that same conversation, or just walk me through how that unfolded, I guess?
How it unfolded with him.
With him
finishing
establishing the
up.
price and then you agreeing to it.
Our first conversation, he mentioned his $3 million price, his asking price, and then from there I underwrote the deal. I looked at it with you, and we figured out a way to structure it so that it would get to his price, and it involved very favorable terms for me as the buyer. And then I presented it to him in my offer, the LOI, and as we had follow-up conversations, he touched on it and just saying that he's actually looking for more, like 3.5 million. So
Okay. Got it. And
going into making the offer, my understanding was that he'd only told me 3 million.
Okay. All right. Yeah, look, next time just be acutely aware whenever there's a material change like that for you to dig in and then pull away and step back. Because it took some massaging for us to structure terms that would make sense for a purchase price of 3 million, right? From what I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So jumping to 3.5 is a big that's a $500,000 jump in price. I mean, that's an opportunity for you to step away, to drop some breadcrumbs, ask some questions, pull away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So you guys have a conversation in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's scheduled for a month from now. He wasn't too big on rushing the process. He he just is like, he's going at a really slow pace of all of this, and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so
Look,
you felt like a
what
month
you
was
don't
appropriate.
don't continue. I wouldn't be putting too much time and energy into this one lead, which you should never put
Yeah.
a tremendous amount of time and energy into just one opportunity. Continue to work your follow-up leads, continue to work the other ones you're working. I don't know if you've established any communication by text. I might send him a text and just start to pull away a little bit, and never ever make somebody feel like they're rushed, right? So you want to you want to make them feel like they're in control while still maintaining control of the flow of the conversation. And you do that by asking more questions, and not chasing, of course. Okay, so continue to work your leads. Don't put too many of your eggs in this one basket. Sounds like timing is not. He can take his time, and obviously he's a little bit maybe wishy-washy with the price, or just wasn't crystal clear when he first said, hey, this is what I'm looking for. My gut tells me he'd probably still pull the trigger somewhere in that range of what you initially offered. But I think it's important that you now take the offer away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then you can potentially revisit. Sorry about that. You can potentially revisit with him if and when he's ready.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean your offer is going to stay the same, by the way.
Right.
Okay.
So if I pull away, it would be something like, you mentioned you're now looking for about 3.5 million. I have a handful of other opportunities I'm working on right now. I'm not sure I can get to the $3.5 million price. If you're open to, I'm not sure where to go with that. Open to a conversation, closer to my original number, then let me know.
Well, are there any terms in which you can make 3.5 million work?
I haven't run that yet, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, look, unless he's willing to do like no payments for some extended period of time, and you have some just insanely ridiculously good terms, because we can make a lot of prices work if we can dictate all the terms. Yeah, no payments for a decade, 0% interest. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make his price work. But I would start to pull away and just say, listen, and unless you're open to me completely reworking the terms that I initially sent you, like I don't want to waste your time. I'm looking at some other deals that I'm submitting offers on, and I know that I wouldn't be able to get anywhere close to your 3.5. I was already stretching to get to the 3, and could potentially make that work based on the terms that I offered you. But it sounds like that wouldn't work for you, so I'm just gonna go ahead and retract the offer.
It's just not inside me naturally to have built a great rapport with this guy and see the great opportunity that it could be, and pull away like that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that
it's a
and
challenge.
yeah, no, I appreciate you for having the awareness about that. And it just comes with, I think a lot of what you're feeling is because you just said it. You see it as a great opportunity, and you're hanging on to this. Now you're working other leads, but like you feel like it's within reach and within grasp. And sometimes, have you ever like squeezed something so tight that somebody tries to put something else on top and it just falls because you're clenching so tightly to this one thing? And when you just release, now you have an open hand to receive other stuff, right? I don't know if that analogy lands home with you, but you never want to chase and just, you want to attract. I've said that numerous times. So release that feeling of like, just because you pull away, and you do it politely, by the way, like you're not a douche about it. You're not like, yeah, I'm not telling you to be, you're not breaking rapport. I mean, he went from 3 million to 3.5. It's $500,000 increase. You think you're going to break rapport by saying, hey, listen, that materially changes things for me, I'm just going to politely retract the offer? No,
Yeah.
no. Uh, he doesn't seem very motivated right now. And just then that, I'm just gathering that based on what you've shared with me. And so every offer to me should have an expiration, and there has to be a takeaway. If he just thinks your offer is there whenever, and all of a sudden now you can do 3.5, there's no sense of urgency for him to act. And by the way, I don't think there is urgency. in this case. Now, I would continue to stay in contact with him. I would continue to, this is where your follow-up system, your nurture sequence can do a lot of the work, right? The emails that might go out to him, the text messages, the staying in touch with them and just wishing him well, the contacts. And maybe that's a good bridge into the next part. How would you rate kind of scale of 1 to 5? 1 being it's horrible, 5 being it's the very best it could possibly be. How would you rate your follow-up system?
It's not great. Follow-up system.
1 through 5.
I don't have a system. Maybe a 2. I have like somewhat of a system in place, and it funnels deals into a spreadsheet tab where I have all of my leads that are ready to sell, all of them, and I slowly move a lead over from tab to tab as I make contact with them, if they eventually want to sell, if they are ready to sell, or if I've made an offer. And so I can just go to the tab and look through, and I'll highlight it in red lettering with the next time to follow up with them, so I can scan through the table to see those dates. But I don't have like a here's today's scheduled calls, and to just be able to.
So you don't really have a CRM per se, which is okay. I'm not gonna be the one to tell you have to go get some fancy CRM. The best system is the one that you understand and that you're gonna work consistently. And oftentimes I think real estate investors, storage operators, just entrepreneurs in general get caught up in the weeds of the tech and the CRM. And I don't want you with your nose inside the CRM all day long. I want you having meaningful conversations, evaluating, analyzing deals, and making offers. So if setting up a CRM, which by the way is something your virtual assistant could do for you, is just set up a very simple CRM that tells you the leads you need to follow up that day, that has some built-in automated sequences where emails and communication is going out with or without you. I think that would be the next step to start to build on your current system. But you certainly have a system. The question is it an efficient dialed in system? But I want to be crystal clear. I don't want you spending time building out a CRM or getting stuck in those weeds. That's not a good use of your time. That would be the better use of your virtual assistant, provided that he or she has the bandwidth and is not going to pull them away from having those connection calls with storage owners. So now, are you using a Google spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So brother, you could have a simple follow-up date column where every lead, do you have a follow-up date on every lead? Every lead that's not dead?
I have I'll just say follow up in August or late August, or a rough timeline, because I haven't been bam famming for that long.
Okay, well, now that you're bam famming, now that you're booking a meeting from a meeting, every lead should have a specific follow-up date.
Right.
So that when you wake up in the morning and you go into your Google spreadsheet, which is your version of a CRM, you can sort by all the leads that you need to follow up with that day. Okay, let's keep it simple. Like KISS, the acronym, keep it simple, stupid. So we're not going to get caught. Like, look, you can get fancy with high level. You can get fancy with a lot of CRMs out there that can do a lot of heavy lifting for you. Right now, until we close your first deal, I don't want you spending money on a fancy CRM. I don't want you like having to build out all these sequences. There are tools that are going to make your life a whole lot easier. It's just not where I want you spending your time and energy right now. So what I'd rather you do is make some improvements around the edges with your existing CRM so that you're getting more out of the leads that you already have. One of the biggest myths I hear is I don't have enough leads. For most people, you have enough leads. The question is, are you working those leads properly? Are you nurturing them? Are you staying in contact with them? Are you following up? Are you building rapport? Are you building a bridge from one conversation to the next? Too many people focus on generating new leads, and the most expensive lead is the one that you've already spent money on with either actual money or time or energy. There's a 9-word email that was made famous by Dean Jackson, who I'm sharing this for the benefit of those listening because I know that I shared this on one of our Storage Wins community calls. And by the way, I've had several people leverage it and have now reopened conversations with sellers that have ghosted them. And the 9-word email by Dean Jackson is simple subject line like, hey, or curious, ... something that's going to invoke curiosity, get them to open the email. And then it's quite simply, you're not putting, hey, Dan, comma, email. You're just going into the email and you're saying, are you still interested in insert ... Are you still interested in selling your storage facility? Right? That's a simple question mark. That's it. You don't put sincerely Dan, you don't put Dan, just that's it. So we used to run this campaign once a month in our wholesaling business, and every single month, like clockwork, it would reopen conversations with sellers that we hadn't heard from in a long time. It's just a great conversation starter where they're going to raise their hand, or they're going to say yes, no, or they're not going to respond. But I can all but guarantee you that if you send this email out, you're going to get some people reopen and say yes. And if they say no, they're also doing you a benefit and a favor, because now you can extend your follow-up. Now, instead of following up with them every month, maybe now you follow up with them twice a year. Okay? So you're collecting email addresses, right? Let me not assume. Are you collecting email addresses?
Yep.
Okay, you absolutely should. One thing you can do, since you don't have a CRM right now that has like some built-in automations, is what I want you to do is once a month, grab all those emails, put them in the BCC box of whatever email service you're using. Make sure it's BCC, blind carbon copy, and then send an email. Send the 9-word email once a month. And you can leverage ChatGPT to vary the words that you use, so you're not sending the same exact email every single month, but once a month. Let's call it the 15th of the month or the 1st of the month, whatever day that is. Set it. There's a tool, if you use Gmail, called Boomerang, which will allow you to pre-schedule when emails go out. I think it's super cheap. It's like $55 a year. Boomerang, which is a Gmail plugin. It's a great tool. I use it a lot. And what's cool about Boomerang is that you can set it so that when you send an email, if they don't respond or reply, it boomerangs your original email back to you. So it acts like a follow-up system in and of itself. Okay?
Does that flood your inbox with boomeranged emails?
Well, you can set the day and time for them to for when to have it boomerang to you if there's not a response. So you can stagger them. You don't have to do it all in the same day, or you certainly could.
Yeah.
You get to control that flow. But I think if you just implemented that one thing right now, is doing a Dean Jackson 9-word email once a month to your email list of your storage owners, that's going to reopen some conversations with sellers. Okay. And then the other improvement is I no longer want you to have vague follow-ups. Like, I don't want you to do like late August follow-up. No, August 22nd. So that when August 22nd rolls around, you can just do a sort or a filter by all the leads that you're supposed to follow up with that day. And then, dude, this is a simple little tweak. Insert column, label it follow-up date, make sure it's a date field, and add dates to all your leads. And then all you have to do is you can apply a filter or just do a simple sort.
Mm-hmm.
You can do some, if your VA knows how to do conditional formatting. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with Google spreadsheets. Keep it simple. Don't get caught. Don't spend any amount of time on that. In fact, I would task your virtual assistant to improve the follow-up system. If you want some more ideas while still keeping it simple, jump on ChatGPT. Hey, here's my current system. Here's what I'm doing. How can I simply leverage what Google Sheets already has to improve the follow-up system and notify me on XYZ or whatever the case might be? Okay. There's people that have simple, like a cold, warm, hot type of rating or grading process. So you can label your leads cold, warm, hot. There's a lot of different things you can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you've made progress and momentum and you're not over preparing as much, and you feel like you've made some progress and momentum in those areas?
I've made some progress. There are instances where, like today, with this owner who we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, who I have lengthy conversations with, and it's because he's just okay with talking, and I don't need the conversation to go that long. You and I have spoken about, don't make the call longer than it needs to be, and you don't have to have 45-minute conversations. If you get what you need out of it in 10 minutes, then that's fine. Leave it at that. And this guy is just like in no rush to do anything and likes to he's not a chatterbox. He doesn't just talk and talk and talk, but I think he appreciates a little bit longer of a conversation and getting to know each other and talk about, what's going on in each of our lives. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I have prepared different topics for a call like this with him,
What do you mean
where
when you prepare different topics?
I just want to have talking points to say to him, because I feel like feel like it's helping build in his mind, build me as somebody that he would like to sell to. So I'm just making different points that I'm writing down to make sure I touch on if the conversation gets stagnant, or to make sure I touch on things that I want to touch on, but also kind of bring up some things from our past phone calls. All of this getting to, I've still been preparing a little bit for some calls.
When you say a little bit, how much are you preparing? Because I want to take advantage of the time you have. Are you talking more than 5 minutes of preparing?
Yeah.
Okay, stop doing it. It's not necessary. I'm telling you, it's not necessary. Absolutely. I know it's challenging for you because you feel like you need to go in there with every single talking point addressed. Trust in me and have my confidence that you have enough to go into these conversations and be able to still continue to make that connection, build the rapport. It's just not necessary to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes preparing for a conversation. It's just not. It's not. While I'm certain you're doing a great job of building rapport, you only have but so many hours in a day. And if you're eating up 30, 45, 60 minutes on just one conversation with a storage owner, that could be 20, 25% of your working hours. Like it's just not. Now, look, man, I'm not saying, like you touched on it. Make sure the conversation is as long as it needs to be, but don't just let it go on and on and on just because it's giving the guy the warm and fuzzies, and it makes you feel like you're making progress. It's just not necessary. I don't think I've ever spoken to a storage owner for longer than 20 something minutes on any one call. Hasn't prevented me from buying storage. Right? So it's just not necessary. In fact, I would say, I mean, you're between your prep time and the actual conversation, you're probably taking an hour plus on these calls. And if you're working 4 or 5 hours a day, that's 20, 25% of your day on one conversation. Now, granted, you have a VA now who is steadily bringing you opportunities, and that's great. But eliminate the need to feel like you have to have all your bases covered heading into a conversation, because you're never going to account for everything. You have to trust yourself that you have enough knowledge and experience to be able to have a conversation on the fly. What could the seller possibly ask you that you couldn't come up with a response right at that moment? And even if you didn't, it's a perfectly acceptable, hey, dude, ask me a question. Just ask me any question.
What made you want to get into self-storage?
Okay, well, I should have given you a better prompt, right? That's a question, obviously, like I'm not going to evade the answer to that question because that's my story. That there's no right, like, I can just tell you why. But like, let's say you ask me something tactical or like, I don't know, what's a question? Let me kick it back to you. What is a question a seller might ask you that you would be nervous not to have the answer to? Or what is a question a seller might ask you that you feel you need to prepare for in advance?
It's more me wanting to have things that I want to get out of them, and it's obviously important to build rapport with these owners. So I look back at our previous conversations and look at things we've touched on that I want to find out more or dig into more with them.
Like
To
what?
just feel like we're building, like, the guy likes to ride his trail bike and he likes to go fishing, and um, I want to make sure I touch back
But
on
what?
some of those things, or his family and his grandkids, and he has a,
Okay, so
chopped up.
it's more rapport building questions.
It's both.
Because
It's
rapport building questions, that doesn't feel like there's anything that needs to be prepared for. Like you have your CRM that says like he likes to go fly fishing. He mentioned grandkids. What prep work is involved in asking about fly fishing and his grandkids? Right?
yeah.
No, seriously, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I want to know, I want to dig into specifically what you're doing in that prep work, because my gut tells me it's just not necessary and borderline a waste of time, depending on what that prep work involves and entails. I'm not with you day to day, obviously, so I don't know, but that's why I'm asking you to like clarify a little bit by what you're doing in the prep work, because what you just shared with me doesn't require any prep work at all. That's just a bullet point on the CRM that says, Walter likes to fly fish. Walter took his kids to Disney. Like, you don't have to spend even a second of prep. You just look at your notes. Hey, Dan, when was the last time you went fly fishing? How's that going? Like, that doesn't require prep work. You know what I mean? Or you can ask, hey, how's little Susie doing? I know you mentioned her on our last call when you guys were at Disney. So I'm still trying to unpack and figure out where you're spending time on the prep. And what is it? Because you said it's about what I want to get out of them. And I think, by the way, as an aside, I think that's an issue. I think you're heading into these calls thinking about what you want and what you want to get out of them. And I think you need to flip that mindset. It needs to be about what you can do for them and what you can provide for them.
Yeah, I can see that shift.
Right? You're going into the call selfishly, like, I need to get all these things from them. That, I think you got to flip that. That's got to be a 180.
Mm-hmm.
I never head into a phone call with a seller thinking like, what can I get from them? No. Do I need to find out about their unit mix and their rates? And do I need some basic information so that I can properly analyze the deal and come up with an offer that I think could make sense for both of us? Yeah. But I'm not putting pressure on myself to get that information. It's just a question I'm going to ask along the way. So I think what we just uncovered is there needs to be a mindset shift around you heading into the conversation. First of all, feeling like you need to spend all this time preparing, which I still haven't heard one reason you need to prepare for the call. I think the prep work needs to be in the mindset you have going in about, let me focus on them and their situation and what they need and want, not focus on what I want to get from them.
Yeah, it's not that I want to figure out how to take advantage of them. It's what are the things I want to make sure we touch on during the conversation in order to feel like I'm moving this forward, whether it's to a yes or to a no, but at least to feel like I'm moving the conversation forward. And it's going to involve building rapport with the seller. It's going to involve finding out some things about the storage facility. Maybe it's following up from an offer and make sure I get his feedback on the offer, or it's more information about the performance of the business so that I can make an offer for him. But there's different categories of things I want to talk about with them, and I just try to organize my thoughts so that it's not like touching on this and then touching on that and then touching back on this and then just being.
But you're trying to be so methodical about framing every conversation, and we're humans at the end of the day, dude. Like look, having a framework and people say script. I don't like script. It's just a framework to guide the conversation. Doesn't mean you can't go off script and then you can get back on it. So it's okay to have a framework, right? I love that word. I think it just perfectly illustrates, like, at least the way I think about it. I think it's okay to have a framework, and I think it's healthy. It's good to have a framework heading into a conversation with a storage owner. But don't make it so formulaic that you need to touch on. I'm hearing this pressure that I got to touch on every single thing. I got to find out about this, and I got to find out about that, and I got to, because I need to, you keep saying that I need to feel like I'm building rapport. That's a you thing. That's giving you the warm and fuzzies, but it's not, I don't know that it's necessarily getting you closer to a deal. In other words, if Amelia Personal Storage, I had 2 conversations with that seller. And I'm not saying this, by the way, because I'm this and you're that. Like, that's not the spirit in which I'm sharing this. Have as many conversations as you need to have in order to get a deal, but don't just have conversations just to feel like you're making progress and building rapport. The goal is not to build progress or rapport. The goal is to see, are you a fit for each other?
Right.
He has a facility, or she has a facility that they want to sell. You potentially want to buy. Can you guys come to an agreement? And yes, naturally, there's going to be some, you got to connect with the seller, and that just happens organically. And I think it's important to be intentional about that. But the purpose of going into a conversation isn't to constantly be building rapport. Let that happen naturally and organically, just by being you and connecting with the person and just having a conversation with another human being. Like, in other words, when you were dating your wife before you guys got married, did you prepare for how that date was going to go?
Right.
I don't think so, right?
No.
Seriously, like, did you prepare, like, hey, I'm gonna, like, this is what I'm gonna ask her, and this is what I want to find out about, and then, no, dude, like, you probably just went on the date and you just, like, let things happen organically. Same thing. Now, heading into the date, yeah, there might have been some questions you want to find out about. You want to find out about this or that, but I doubt you prepared for 30, 40 minutes heading into a date.
It's true.
I don't know. You tell me.
No, you're right.
Okay, so why is this any different? Why you're putting so much pressure on wanting to dot all these I's and T's, and I'm telling you, it's not getting you closer to a deal. If anything, I think it's just adding more friction in the way.
I've been looking for a facility now for a while. It's been a couple of years that I've really been focused on it. And it kind of feels like I'm spinning my wheels, and I'm just trying to make sure I maximize the leads that feel like they're hot leads, to not let them get away.
That's the thing, but right there,
They feel like they have a lot to offer, and this one in particular is probably the best facility I've looked at from all the storage facilities I've looked at.
but right,
in the terms of the returns that it can provide.
Did you catch what you just said, though?
Which part?
Well, there's a couple different things you said, right? And if you rewind and listen to this, you said this is like the best one. It's like, I feel like I need to maximize it. Like, you're chasing. You're putting all your eggs in this basket. You're like trying to do everything in your power to make sure you get a contract. All that isn't helping you get the deal. It's not. In fact, I would argue it's taking you further away from it. You know that classic definition of insanity, right? Keep doing the same things over and over, expecting different results. Change the approach. And I think it starts with your mindset. Stop over preparing for these. You don't need to. There is no need. Right? Like, I'm not telling you not to spend a minute or 2 or 3 reviewing the previous call notes, but that shouldn't take you a lot of time, and you shouldn't need to prepare for, like, his fly fishing tournament or this or that, or finding out more about the facility. Like, brother, a couple conversations with a storage owner, for the most part, a qualified storage owner, somebody who actually has a facility they want to sell, you should be able to get the majority of the details you need. I'm not going to mention his name, but one of our community members in Storage Wins last week posted the recording of one of his seller calls. 7-minute conversation. He pretty much got the bulk of what he needed. And I actually think he's going to be moving forward with that seller. It's not because he's any better, smarter than you. He's just not, one of the things, he's not overthinking it. He's just connecting with that person. He's just having a conversation. And you heard the conversation, right?
Was it last week that he posted it?
Okay, you might not have heard the conversation. I'll encourage you to go into the Storage Wins school community. Listen to the conversation. 7 minutes, brother. And he knows what he's doing and he's awesome. But there was nothing magical about that. Like, it was just a very basic conversation. Like, he just asked them, listen to it and you'll see what I mean.
I've
And
had
that's
those
the approach.
conversations, those
What was that?
that are really efficient, and you get all the
Yeah.
info you need, and you move on with life. But sometimes the owners like to talk, or
Yeah.
they have a
That's
great
okay.
opportunity, and it's
That's
just one of
okay.
those
What
that
I'm telling
take
you to,
longer.
yeah, that's perfectly fine, Dan. What I'm encouraging you to do is not spend the time on the front end preparing for it.
Right.
That's just trust your ability to be able to get on the call and uncover what you need. Now, if you look at the notes and you say, hey, I don't have the reason why he just jumped from 3 million to 3.5. Okay, jot that down. That's a question to ask. But that takes you literally seconds to write down. Okay, maybe you spend 3 minutes, 5 minutes thinking, okay, let me review the notes of the last conversation. What information am I missing that I absolutely need in order to move me forward? Okay, boom, spend a couple minutes jotting some questions down, pick up the phone and call, launch right into the conversation. I'm just not understanding where all the time on the prep time is spent. Like, what is it that you're prepping for that can't be done on the call? And that's what I want to push you in. And I'm getting on you, but a little bit of tough love here. I want you to change your mindset and your approach, because I believe it will help you get closer to the next deal. And I just feel that you're spinning your wheels. You referenced spinning your wheels. I think part of this prep work is unnecessarily spinning your wheels. And I know you can do this. I have zero doubt you can do this. We wouldn't be recording this thing live if I didn't think you could do this. I know you can do it. I just think you're totally overthinking the process, which, by the way, is super common. There's been things that I've set out to do and accomplish that I've overthought, and I've had somebody, a coach or a friend or somebody in my ear that I trust and respect, saying, dude, why are you doing it that way? Or why are you doing that? Why don't you try this? And then I step back and I'm like, sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it's like, it doesn't make sense to me. But I'm like, well, my current approach isn't working. Let me try something different. Or sometimes we hear something and we're like, that sounds good, but I'm going to like kind of do my thing and I'm going to take a little bit of that. It's like, just plug into what you know works from people who have done it. And the cool thing, Dan, is that you don't have to change much about what you're doing. You just got to stop over preparing, stop overthinking, and just challenge yourself this week to head into calls feeling underprepared and trusting that you're going to uncover the information you need. Because let's be honest, there's not a million data points we need to be able to underwrite a storage facility and make an offer.
Right.
We need to find out what's their motivation. Like, why would they consider selling? We need to find out some basic information about the storage facility and their situation. Probably that's kind of it. That's kind of it. I'm not telling you not to have a 20, 30-minute conversation with the storage owner. I'm just telling you, like, let the call be as long as it needs to without just giving you the sensation, the feeling that you're building rapport and making progress.
Yep.
All right. So, all right. Yeah. So in wrapping here, what do you want to commit to this week? So this week we're getting back on the horse. What can you commit to? What are some of those non-negotiables? And then what can you take away or draw from this call that you can focus, be intentional about implementing this week?
Setting up a 9-word email to go out once a month to my contacts.
Okay.
And to keep bam-famming, booking a meeting from a meeting, and then create a spreadsheet column that has that follow-up date. And then that facility that we spoke about at length for most of this podcast, I'm gonna find out if there's a way to get closer to his price, or at least how he came up with that higher price.
Well, you definitely find out how he came up with that higher price. Like, dig in there, start to pull away. Like, hey, listen, I'm probably not going to be the buyer for you. There's some other opportunities I'm looking at, and I realize you're clenching this one because you want it to work, but watch what happens when you start to like just pull away a little bit. I'm going to keep telling you, attract, don't chase.
I know.
All right.
It's easier said than done. It sounds great, but when it comes to figuring out how to push them away a little bit, it's I have a hard time with that.
Okay. Well, focus on, aside from what you've already talked about, I want you to focus on practicing that. Whenever you feel yourself feeling whatever you feel inside, recognize it for what it is. That's okay. But don't, remember the date analogy? Like, you don't lean into her face, like, and get an inch away from her face to ask her a question. Like, what is she going to do? She's going to like back away. So lean back, let them move in. So it's kind of this dance, if it makes sense. And just let it happen organically. Let it happen naturally. Stop over preparing for the calls. You can certainly continue to over prepare. I'm just telling you, I don't think it's helping. And I think it's kind of a waste of time. At least when it comes to just going into conversations. If you're talking about preparing for like structuring some deals and how you're going to present an offer, maybe that's one thing. So, and then in terms of meaningful conversations, deals that you look at and offers, what's the commitment for this week?
I'm thinking of some of the leads that I've been working on lately and how many of them are ready to take an offer. Like one of the guys out of town, and I know he's not gonna, I'm gonna get him an offer within the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I know he's just not gonna be in town for the next week. So
how many leads do you have in your system that you know they want to sell and you haven't sent an offer to them? Ballpark.
Very few. Because
so
most of them I've gotten offers over to them already.
Okay, so how many leads are you talking about in your system, more or less?
I couldn't count. There's a lot of leads in the system.
Hundreds? Hundreds?
Yeah.
You haven't sent hundreds of offers.
As far as facilities ready to sell, I have probably 8 or 10 of them right now.
That are ready to sell?
That I've... Yeah.
Okay. So of your hundreds of leads, there's only 8 or 10 that they want to sell.
Sorry, I'm going through this trying to count as we're doing.
It's okay. We don't have to spend time and energy like thinking about like getting an exact count. The point is, every lead, every person that you connect with that has a facility that engages in a conversation with you, there's some level of interest in them wanting to sell a facility. Send an offer. Mm-hmm. So in other words, what I'd like to challenge you with is, I'd like to hear that you've had minimum 3 to 5 meaningful conversations a day. You're analyzing at least one deal a day. And I'd love to hear that you got 3 offers sent this week.
Yeah.
And if you just don't feel like you have enough opportunities in your system, it's time to start smiling and dialing and getting with your virtual assistant and challenging her and saying, hey, I'm going to challenge you. I need X number of people that raise their hand that are open to having a conversation about selling their facility. And if that means giving her an extra hour of work every day, right, provided that she can and has the bandwidth, then that extra 30, 35 bucks you might spend for the week could yield you an extra handful of leads, which could be your next deal. So if you don't have enough leads in your system that warrant an offer, you got to continue generating leads. I mean, that's a faucet that should never be turned off.
Yeah, my lead generation's great. It's been going well.
So something's off then. If your lead generation's great and you have a lot of leads, here's the bottom line. Here's the punchline. There are leads in your system that you haven't sent an offer to that you should send an offer to. So it's just a matter of identifying which ones, underwriting them, and then getting a letter of intent to them. But one way or the other, I want to challenge you to submit 3 offers this week.
Got it.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to hold you accountable to that. So next podcast episode, I'm going to ask you specifically, How many meaningful conversations? And brother, the great thing about you, dude, is that you're never going to BS me. You're always going to shoot me straight, whether you hit it or not. And if you didn't, we'll unpack and uncover why and help you. But I know you can. So I want minimum 15 meaningful conversations this week. Minimum 5 deals that you underwrote or analyzed, and then minimum 3 offers that were sent. You on board?
Yep.
You sure? 100%?
Yeah, 100%.
All right. All right. Let's make it happen, brother. All right, man. Hey, great job, man. I appreciate you being open to the feedback. It's all in an effort to get you closer to ultimately what you want and just to continue to push you. At times, you might feel like it's getting like, oh man, Alex is pushing me. It's because I know you can do this. All right. And I want you to just like take some of the pressure off, man. Like release the pressure cooker. I feel like the tension, like you're trying so hard. It's less about trying hard. It's just more about believing in yourself, borrowing my confidence in your ability to do this, and trying a different approach. Resist the urge. I know you want to prepare and have everything lined up. Just like when you went on a date with your wife before you guys got married, you probably weren't over preparing for those dates. Treat this the same way. It's no different. That worked. You got the girl. Try that approach here.
Yeah, got it.
Sound good?
Gotcha, yeah.
All right, brother. I'll see you on the next one,
Good.
okay? All right, guys,
thanks, Alex.
listen, hopefully you took something from this conversation. Look, you're not a robot, right? Like you're going to get knocked off course. Things are going to happen. What matters most is how you get back on track, and then allow yourself to be coached through this podcast. Maybe some of this really lands home with you. Maybe there's just a part of it that resonates. Take what connects, leave what doesn't. But make sure that you have somebody pushing you and holding you accountable, and be open and trust that it's not personal when you get feedback. It's just that person pouring into you sees what you may or may not see in yourself and that you can do it. All right. So it's just a matter of if you're doing something and you don't feel like it's the right approach, get some coaching, get some guidance, get some feedback, and then be open to a different approach, and then continuing to learn and grow from there. So, brother, what were you going to say?
So I've been at this for a little while, a couple of years, and I keep thinking, what's going to get me over the hump? And the book, Who Not How, has me looking at what are the things I've been able to do in finding and buying self-storage, and then how do I get myself from where I am to where I want to be? So I keep thinking, what are the areas where I feel like I'm not as strong at, and who is stronger at those areas who might be able to push me over the hump to get there. And one of the things that I've noticed is that I have great conversations with owners, and then they just kind of like fizzle out and something happens and I just end up not buying the facility. So, so I'm thinking, okay, who has been, I guess you could call it like a closer, who has gotten the deals to the point where all they need is not that it's going to work every time for them, but when they get facilities, when they get leads in this position where they know the owner wants to sell, they've analyzed the deal, underwritten it, and they have made an offer. Now, who has a high close rate? You can say, here's my business partner. We work on these deals together. I just wanted to introduce you to them. So
I get it.
Since we'll be working together on this deal, we're going to work together to move this forward. And that's just something that's been on my mind of
well,
how to fill in that gap.
I love the book Who Not How, and I like the way you're thinking, because oftentimes it's a who question, not a how question. And while you're thinking that, at no point do I think it's acceptable for you to think that you're not the right who to have these conversations and take these deals over the finish line. Even though you feel like it might not be your strength, you were just sharing with me how you're like, oh, this comes natural and easy to you, and it doesn't to me. I have to try. That's okay. I'm going to say it again. I don't want you to be me. I don't want you to be anybody. I want you to be you. I want you to be Dan Wenzel. Dan Wenzel can do this. You just have to find your flavor and your approach. But I still want you to take some of the coaching and the guidance and the feedback and apply it, even though it feels a little uncomfortable. Okay? And some of the stuff I think is, you're saying, hey, this comes easy and natural to you. And I understand where you're coming from, but some of it is just your inability to let go of certain things, like preparing. Like, that comes easy or natural to me. I'm just not going to do it because I don't believe it's necessary. You have a belief that you think it's necessary. I'm telling you, I think in many times it's a waste of time, and it's not efficient, and it's not helping you bridge the gap. Right? So that's not hey, it comes hard to me and easy for you thing. That's just a decision. Like, you can continue to prepare and over prepare. And there's some cases where I would tell you, dude, preparation breeds confidence, and preparation is super important. Right? I'm giving a talk next week in front of a bunch of pretty successful real estate investors. I'm not just getting on stage and winging it. Like, no, I'm preparing for that. But when it comes to picking up the phone and having a conversation with a storage owner, especially somebody I've already connected with in the past, there's no need to spend any more than a couple of minutes preparing for. You're trying to force how that conversation looks, trying to get certain things from that person. I want you to let that go. I want you to just head into the conversation organically, seeking to just connect with the person and ask some questions to move it along. But you don't have to necessarily think about that. So trust me when I tell you are overthinking it. You're totally overthinking it. You know more about storage than 99.999% of people. You're just not trusting in your natural ability to be able to carry a conversation and just continue to advance or move the ball down the field.
Yeah, my thought behind that is, I want this person to like me as much as possible because people do business with people they like.
We got to it. That's what's holding you back. Your need to get somebody to want to like you. That is what you have to let go. Forget that. Forget that.
There's so much competition. People trying to buy owners get phone calls all day, every day.
There's competition in your mind. That doesn't even enter my mind when I pick up the phone. I'm not worried about anybody else and what they're going to do. I'm just worried about what I'm able to do for that seller. And if I'm not the person to do something with that seller, that's okay. There's over 60,000 storage facilities in the country, right? 64% of them, or whatever the number is, are run by mom and pop. I'm not worried about one storage owner. I'm not worried about competition. I'm not worried if they're going to like me or not. And this isn't about me, but I want you to adopt some of that thinking. Forget, you see how everything is pointed towards inward. It's you. I want them to like me. I'm worried about external, the competition. Just seek to connect with the person. Forget about the competition. Forget about the competition. Doesn't matter. It's no impact or bearing on you. And what I mean by that is, doesn't impact your bearing like what you're able to do and not do. If anything, let that fuel and motivate you. But I'm not. You think when I pick up the phone with a storage owner, I'm worried about how many calls he's gotten from others? I don't care. I don't care. And I certainly don't care if they like me or not. In most cases, I feel like they're gonna like me, because why wouldn't they? I'm friendly. I'm nice. I'm not. You know what I mean? I'm not the dentist that they're coming to visit for a tooth extraction. Like, so I think your mindset's focused in the wrong areas. It's focused inward, and in certain cases, it's focused outward on the competition. Focus on you and what you can control. And that's how you show up on those calls, how you connect with that seller. But don't try to have everything so formulaic and try to have everything so scripted and planned out in terms of what you want to get and how that conversation needs to go. So let things happen naturally and organic, man. Like I keep saying, release the pressure valve. You're putting way too much pressure on, like, they got to like me because they got to trust me. And if they like me and trust me, they're going to do a deal with me. And I have to get this deal because this is the best one. And it's like, this is not helping you get the deal. You're coming across probably very needy and wanty. And that may be tough to hear, but that's probably what's coming across through the phone line. And that's not going to instill confidence and inspire them to want to work with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Try a different approach, man. Try a different approach. Even though it's challenging and hard, just, dude, how many things did you once do that were like awkward and uncomfortable? Pretty much everything, unless you're just a prodigy, right? Unless you're just a natural at something.
Yeah.
But you hop on a bike as a kid, you probably fell down and scraped your knees. It's like, oh, that sucked. That hurt. That didn't feel good. But did you stop? No. When you probably got thrown in a pool, you were drowning, right? Until you learned how to swim. And now you can jump in a pool and you're like, okay, I'm not worried about drowning. Same thing here. All right?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
man.
I'll go with this new approach.
Okay. Take a breath. It's a breathing exercise, my man. It's a breathing exercise. You're too tense. Loosen up. Loosen up. Get on the calls, man. Have some fun, man. It's just people. That's all it is. Just people. Right? I know you're attaching the outcome to your current situation. You're like, I have to make this work. But holding on to that mentality is preventing you from getting the very thing you want. All right?
I believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, dude, then this should be a lot easier than you're making it out to be. If you believe that, you want to continue to fight and swim upstream, or are you going to go with the current? Simple decision, man. You know, you want to tire out, gas out, and work against the current, or you want to swim with it? Swim with it, man. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, I follow you.
All right. Awesome, man. We'll recap on the next one. Remember your non-negotiables and what you committed to. All right.
Yep.
With that being said, make sure that you're subscribed, and then I will connect with you on the next podcast episode. Take care, then.
Thanks, Alex. You too.